All right, so I'm out here doing wheel bearings on this guy's truck, and I figured this would be a great time to explain something a lot of people don't understand, not specifically about the wheel bearings, but about the cost of having to fix things. Let me tell you, lads, what it's like if I'm going to fix something. Okay, I'm going to say it takes as long as it takes, because I've really tried to get better about not just fucking everything. You know, try to do certain things like this right. And part of that is one specific stipulation that everything in there gets replaced, you know, within reason. And the example of the wheel bearing, I just ordered all the bearings and the races and the seals. So, you know, some of these bearings here, I don't know what's going on with these. You know, a lot of the grease is that nasty sludge looking stuff. And it very clearly has a lot of wear on some of the wear surfaces. This is one of the better ones. And then you got this grease, which looks basically mint. I really can't help but speculate if some motherfucker just opened this up and dumped some new grease in it. Yeah, especially because it's mostly on the outside. I don't know. Anyway, the cost of fixing something like this, and this is a lesson I learned on farm equipment, because farm stuff just isn't engineered to hold together, just to put it bluntly. The lesson I learned is the real cost of having to fix stuff like this isn't the extra money, you know, for the bearings, because some of the people that I grew up with and I knew in the past, they'd be looking at this and be like, oh, this bearing race, you know, that one can be cleaned up, you know, you can save $12 on it. The real cost isn't stuff like that. The real cost is the downtime. Okay, so for this guy, that'd be like bringing the vehicle here, and then there's my time to take all this apart and to go through it and to diagnose it and to order the parts and so on and so forth. In the case of farm equipment, the real cost is the downtime of having your machine sit there when you need to be using it. Okay, the parts cost on this, I think all those bearings shipped here were like under $120. So I didn't think that was that bad. Like, I understand that's, you know, would have been cheaper 30 years, but still, given the circumstance, I don't think that's bad. And then knowing what my time is worth, some of my time in here, but the main cost is this guy cannot use this truck. This truck cannot go out on any deliveries. It cannot haul any materials. It's not at work right now. It's here. With farm equipment, if you don't go through and just do things right and replace stuff, and I had to learn this stuff the hard way, and it wasn't always pretty, but still, if you don't just go through things and do stuff right, then the cost of that is, you know, you reuse the bearings on one side, and then those are the ones that break when you need to be in the field. So there's the opportunity cost of missing out on all that. Then you have to buy the parts anyway. Then you have to spend more money taking it, you know, for you to work on, or, you know, to wherever you have work on stuff. Obviously, it's not going to be a dealer, because then it just comes back super fucked up, and they want like thousands of dollars. Don't ask me how I learned that lesson. The single largest cost when something breaks, from everything I've seen, all my own stuff I've worked on, all the customer projects and whatnot, the single largest cost is the downtime. A lot of people don't think about that. You need stuff to hold together and not break, and you need that a lot more than you need to save $12 by reusing a bearing race. If there's one mistake that people make having to do with the finances of like repairing stuff and whatnot, it's that they don't fully understand how much it costs when things break just in downtime. It must be avoided. In this example, that means that all the bearings, all the race, all the wheel seals get replaced. In other examples, it means that when the factory says that the fluid in this thing has to be changed every 500 hours, it means that we actually change it at 500 hours. Downtime must be avoided, and a small amount of money, usually to pay for better parts, or for all the parts, you know, inside of something like this, is a small price to pay in exchange for the cost that you're out, that most people don't even realize they're out, when something breaks, and now you have the cost of downtime. Downtime costs a lot more than parts and pieces, especially, you know, and labor, especially if you already have to take it apart in the first place. You already have to do a lot of this stuff. Anyway, long story short, I've learned that the single largest cost anytime something breaks, it's actually the downtime and the logistics of getting it fixed. Definitely worth spending the extra little bit of money and actually doing things right and actually replacing everything needs to be replaced. And that's especially true for people who just don't realize that. Now, this is not a sponsored video, but let me tell you, the cheapest part of this entire project of what I actually had to go buy were these wheel seals. You know, I was talking to Mechanic Steve about this, and repacking the wheel bearings on two-wheel drive trucks and two-wheel drive truck-based vans, that has to be some of the most neglected maintenance procedures that are out there. Okay, these wheel seals are not that much money. A little bit of grease to do that job is not much money. Okay, if you have a vehicle like that, then actually repacking the bearings in this, which nobody does, by the way, and somehow they still hold together for like 10 and 20 and 30 years sometimes. It's actually amazing that there aren't more wheels that, you know, fly off going down the road off of two-wheel drive vehicles with failed bearings than there are, because nobody stays on top of this maintenance. Well, you know, repacking the wheel bearings and something like that, that's one of the last $20 jobs that there is, you know, for materials if you do it yourself, obviously. I remember when I was younger, some of the old folks would talk about how you used to be able to get this, you know, this task done or that task done for 20 bucks. That was before my time. When I was younger, there were still a lot of fixes you could do yourself for 20 bucks in materials. Okay, now most of those can't be done for that price, but, you know, repacking wheel bearings on a two-wheel drive pickup, that's one of the last $20 procedures you can do. You know, I'm sure there's exceptions, but still, overall, it's one of the last cheap procedures there is. It's probably the single most overlooked bit of maintenance on anything like that. So that's your tech tip of the day.